We are so glad to have everyone join us today. Thank you for being here. The first presentation of the day is with Judy Blake. Judy helps people reclaim their lives and find joy after a difficult chapter has thrown them for a loop. While she helps all kinds of people work towards all kinds of goals, the common thread is the need for self-care. Time must be taken and techniques and skills must be learned to honor and heal broken hearts, tattered spirits, and bodies dealing with new challenges. Today, Judy will teach you some simple techniques to help you calm anxiety and overwhelming feelings throughout your day, along with a powerful practice that can help you not only find a sense of ease, but open you to a pathway that can lead to all kinds of deeper understanding and healing. So with that, please turn your attention to Judy Blake.
I'm very happy to be here. Let's see. I just thought I'd start in the spirit of our What Stopped You event with a little share. I coached for many years under the umbrella of a company I worked for in the business world, and then I had a number of years that I was too sick to do anything, and now for many years I've been doing one-on-one coaching. But today is the first time I've ever done a workshop. It's the first time I've ever worked with a group. It's the first time I've ever done anything online like this, and it's also the first time I've used PowerPoint. So I have to say that in the process of getting ready for this and leading up to this, I met with a lot of personal resistance and a lot of blocks that I had to sort of lean into and sometimes wanted to run away from. But thanks to a lot of to the 5 other amazing women that I'm doing this with, I was able to kind of push through and make it here, and now I'm very happy to be here and super excited to share what I have planned for today. So thanks for being with me. And I thought I would just tell you a little bit more about what I do. Thank you for reading my introduction, Lisa. So the thing that I wanted to bring up after I wrote that and was thinking about it, I thought, I work with people that have gone through something that has left them in a place where they just can't go back. They can't just go back to what they were doing. They can't just go back to the status quo. They just can't continue on as, in a way that's always been familiar, because something has shifted in their life that calls for like a whole new approach. So it seems like that would always be something really big, and often it is, like a major health crisis that leads to, new chronic illness or chronic pain or death of a loved one or some kind of loss that really levels us. But it really doesn't mean that it has to be a big thing. It can look like a small thing on the outside, but it can have a huge impact on us on the inside and on our lives. So I just want to honor that it's all kinds of things that have us, that bring us to this place where we need and want to figure out, who am I now with whatever it is that I've lost or whatever has changed, and what can I do to feel alive again and to feel happy again and to feel purposeful again. So that's what I try to help people answer. And the reason I do it is because as I think almost all of you know, I was a very active, high-energy person doing a lot of things years and years ago, and I got suddenly very, very ill, and went from being able to do a million things to not being able to do much of anything except lie in bed for years. And I, of course, had to find my own way in terms of how to just survive that, and how to find the light, even though it felt like a very dark time. And I knew, especially once I got a diagnosis and started to get a little bit of healing happening, I knew that I wanted to help other people, find their way through whatever, difficulty they were facing. So when I got well enough, launched my private coaching practice, and that's what I do. And the reason I wanted to pick what stops you from feeling a sense of ease is because, of course, that's a huge thing for people that have terrible grief or have health issues they have to deal with every day. When you have things like that, it sort of becomes like survival, like we have to tend to ourselves. We have to go that extra mile with self-care. But the truth is that we all deserve it and benefit from it and really do need it. And more than ever in this world that we live in, I mean, even putting the pandemic aside, which is not something we can put aside, we live in a world now where we're just inundated with information and the worries of the entire planet all the time. And that's a big shift in the whole world's consciousness. We can't it's not so easy to just focus on our own lives and on what we have to deal with right in front of us. We have all these things weighing on us, even if we're not thinking consciously about it. So, the global anxiety has risen and gotten, higher and higher. So it's really important to honor our bodies and our minds and our emotional centers and take care of ourselves with that. And for the people that say, I don't have time for that, I'm too busy to do, to stop and do some little thing to help myself, I just want to pose that I find with everybody I do this stuff with and myself that if I take a moment to do some of these things, then I'm actually more productive, and that it benefits, the output ends up actually growing instead of it feeling like I've taken some time away from some other activity that seems more, sort of quote unquote productive. So that's why I do what I do and why we're doing what we're going to do today. So today I'm going to teach you some powerful techniques. They're super simple. They're not going to be really new to you, but I hope that you'll go away with a kind of a new mindset about them and give them a try on your own and find out how much they can help. And hopefully you'll even experience a little bit in your body as I guide you through a couple of things, the way they can bring a calmer feeling to you so that you'll be motivated to try them on your own. All right. So I'm going to begin with something called breathing. And I just want to say, this is one of those things, my oldest son, if he was here, he would share this with you. He's very open about it. My oldest son he's on the autism spectrum, and he has a lot of sensory processing disorders. So he's, no stranger to anxiety. Anxiety is a big part of his makeup, and particularly when he was a child. And what he would always say to me is like, the worst thing you can say to me, Mom, is to calm down or to breathe. And I get it, because when we're super stressed out and somebody says, just breathe, we want to punch them sometimes, right? It's like, don't tell me to breathe, I'm breathing. So, but what I want you to think about is and this is going to come up a few times today, is the concept and the idea of becoming your own good best friend. That, we can turn this around and talk to ourselves, and we can say, if I just take a moment to do some intentional breathing, I can really help my body settle down, and I can calm my mind and reset, and then I'll function better. I can take this moment to take care of myself, and I want to do it. So the thing about breathing is, of course, our brilliant body just does it all on its own. Our thinking mind does not have to tell us to breathe. It just keeps happening. But when we get under a lot of stress, or we're feeling overwhelmed, or we're getting more and more anxious, we naturally start to breathe. Our breathing becomes naturally a little bit more shallow. We tend to breathe more just up into our chest and not deep into our belly. We're still getting plenty of oxygen. We're not in danger of suffocating or anything. But that sends a message to our stress response system. And our stress response system says, oh, we have to be ready to leap over a building or lift a car. And even if it's not if we're not that stressed out, our body still responds to that shift in breathing by putting out a little bit extra stress hormones to help us be more tense, to jump into some kind of action. And the more that happens, the more tense we get and the more anxious we get. And so it can really just keep feeding itself. So we want to just remind ourselves, if I just do a few calming breaths, I'm going to let my body know that there's no danger here. I just have a lot to do, or I'm just really worried about this thing, or I just have this big decision to make. It's not a life or death situation. I can just, let my body know that it's okay to calm down. So with that approach in mind, let's see if I can make this shift. I just want to do a very basic, very simple, intentional breathing. Really, it's not even an exercise. It's just taking a moment to do some intentional breathing. There is no end to, amazing yogic breathing practices, and I highly recommend them. But even just doing some simple, gentle, full breath breathing is also effective. So if you put your hand on your stomach, I like to put my hand on my stomach and a hand on my chest, because then I can feel the air coming all the way in, going all the way down into my belly. And I just take some easy breaths. And you're just feeling you're just letting it be gentle and easy, nothing like forced. And you're feeling the gentle rise and fall of your belly and your chest. And then this is optional, but it's something that I love to do. My voice teacher from a million years ago taught me this easy F exhale. And that's when you put your top teeth against your bottom lip and you make the sound that happens like if you were to puncture a tire that was really full and all the pressure was released. So it's like, right? So by doing that, you're also feeding your auditory system and you're getting this input of like release, okay? And it also helps you exhale more slowly. And even in your mind, you can think the word release or relax or let go, whatever resonates with you. So we're just going to do just a few, 4 or 5, just easy breaths, all at your own pace. Just breathe in. Easy F exhale. Nice. So after you take a few just intentional, I should change the word here from easy deep breaths to just easy full breaths. So you're just taking these easy full breaths, and then allow yourself to pause for a moment and notice how your body feels. Let yourself sort of go, yes, okay, there it is. And just sit in that nice, relaxed feeling for a moment. So the thing about this feeling of being, that by doing this exercise a few times when you're actually not at all stressed out and not feeling anxious, you usually get some pretty immediate feedback, because it doesn't take much to go from just being, like at 0 to being totally mushily relaxed, right? But that shows us what the effect that this has on our body. Of course, the more anxious we're feeling, the more stressed out, the more overwhelmed, we might need to do a few more breaths and take a little more time with just bringing that calm. But the goal with this is really just to do enough, just to send that signal to our body that it's like, okay, you can calm down and chill out. There's no emergency here. This is not life or death. And then this is my little sort of in-between tip. Got to go to my next screen. is that when you are feeling all that calm, I want you to just take one extra breath and picture that air just swirling into this busy brain that we all have, with all the thoughts, all the concerns, all the problems, all the worries, all the things just spiraling around in there and twisting around in there. I want you to just gather them all up in that breath and just set it down right next to you, and look at it and say, hey, I'm not going to forget any of you, because of course you're not, right? They're not going to let you go. They're not going to let you forget. But it's nice. It's just, again, like sort of honoring our body, our thoughts, everything that's going on, and saying, hey, it's all right. You can sit over there right now and I will get to you in good time. And then you pick one thing that you can do right now, and you come back to center and you start with that one thing. The idea that there's a lot of stuff on this out there about multitasking, that we don't actually multitask. We just switch between. If we're a good multitasker, it just means that we can switch between activities really fast, right? So, but if you can get yourself into a little calmer state and just set the intention, okay, one thing at one time, even if you have to keep switching, you're like, okay, one thing at one time. And the thing that happens with that is you get this great feedback by actually seeing that you're making progress with something. And then that pile slowly starts to go down, and it doesn't seem quite so overwhelming. So that's my first tip. The next one is something that I call the pivot. This one also was, I started doing, thank you to my beautiful son, who, when he was probably about 10, started having these episodes where he would just get filled with anxiety and super overwhelmed. And all I would have to do was glance in his direction, and I would be like, oh no, he's going down the drain. And what I realized very quickly is when we're in this super stressed out, anxious state, there's no amount usually of talking that we can do to get the brain to calm down. We are fully like hooked on something that's making us spin and feel a little bit crazy, right? So what we want to do is just cut away from it. We just want to pivot away from it into something else that will bring us into a state of calm. And the best thing that can do that is something that makes us feel happy, something that we enjoy. And so, for instance, my son, when he was a little boy, the two things that always worked really well for him when he was spiraling out is I would just put him in the shower, and the warm water, just that nice calming feeling of warm water would help. Or he would go watch a cartoon for 15 minutes. And lo and behold, I would hear that belly laugh, and I would be like, okay. And then once he was calm, we could talk about whatever had been going on before, right? So now, as an adult, I practice this all the time. And the two things that, just for an example, I'm going to have you guys make your own list. The two things that help me the most, and that, again, these have to be things, it can't be like I'm going to schedule an appointment for a massage. You can do that, and that can be super helpful, but that's not going to help in the moment when you're feeling overwhelmed and super stressed and very anxious. So you want something that's readily available that you can just turn your attention to right then and there, and just do for a couple of minutes so that you can get back to what you were doing. So the two things that work for me are singing. And since the pandemic, I started playing the ukulele. So now it's the ukulele and a song. Or nature, which is pretty universal. I can just look out my window and watch the birds for a minute or two, or I can step out and just feel the, breeze on my skin, and look up at the sky and look at the clouds and just feel calmer. And again, this is all about just bringing it down so that we can sort of just reset, refocus, and get back to it. So, it looks like I already said all those things. It's on that. So what I want you to do is, let's see what's on my next one. I want you guys to write some things down, but even if you've already started, at the top of your list, I want you to write two things. I want you to write the word open, and you can finish that sentence if you want. Open to the wonder of it all and sink into the experience, or turn yourself over to the moment, whatever speaks to you. Because if we step outside to take in nature to try to get that hook, we don't want to rip that hook out, that big hook that's just got us like stuck on these thoughts that we can't get away from and we can't solve right now, right? We want to melt it away. And we can't do that if we step outside and keep thinking while we're like staring at the sky, right? We have to open to it and allow ourselves to step into the feeling of wonder, like, wow, look at the sky, it's so big, or listen to the birds. We have to sink into the experience. If we're singing a song or we're dancing, we turn on the radio and dance. We have to feel our body move. We have to feel the music. We have to turn ourselves over to the wonder of it all. And that's when joy comes up and replaces all of that anxiety and all of that stress and all of that overwhelm. And we can breathe again. Okay? So if you guys, you might already be done writing things down, but I hope that you have at least one thing. Sometimes that's all we need, but it's nice to have a few. And if you guys feel so inclined to share one or two, if you would put those in the chat, we can look at those at the end of this session. I find that a lot of the things that help people in this way are fairly universal. Not everything, but a lot of them are. So, you know, we can get ideas from each other sometimes that can be helpful. So that is pivoting. I have no concept of time, but I don't know how we're doing. Okay, so now I'm going to shift to something that's a little different, a little, I don't know, it's a little bigger in a certain way. This is called something called focusing. A doctor friend of mine recommended that I start reading about this because she had been reading about it. And she said, I think you're going to love this. I think it's going to so apply to what you do. And so I started studying it last year. This was another thing. The pandemic was happening and I had some extra time for a while. And I started studying focusing. I started using it myself and I've started using it with clients now. And I just think it's amazing. And I'm going to read, this is the original book that I just got from Amazon, so I haven't even read this one yet, but I've read other ones. So this is what it says on the back. It says, this is the classic guide to a powerful technique for personal transformation. Based on groundbreaking research conducted at the University of Chicago, the focusing technique has gained widespread popularity and scholarly acclaim. It consists of 6 easy-to-master steps that identify and change the way thoughts and emotions are held within the body. Focusing can be done virtually anywhere at any time, and an entire session can take no longer than 10 minutes, but its effects can be felt immediately in the relief of bodily tension and psychological stress, as well as in dramatic shifts in understanding and insight. So what I have discovered with focusing is it's not just like a technique or a practice, but it is a technique, but the more you do it, it can actually become like a broad purpose skill. If you really practice it and do it, you can get really good at it, and then it can become even more helpful. So I'm going to start with, focusing, sorry, just to go back, I read that thing, but focusing is about the way they started it was the doctor who developed it. He was doing these studies, listening to thousands of tapes of people in therapy. And so he was looking for what is it that makes some people get so much benefit from it and other people not at all. Is it something about the therapist's techniques? Is it something about the person, the client? So he found almost across the board that he could tell in the first or second session that if a person was going to really respond well to therapy. And it didn't matter what the therapist was like, what technique they used, that was not a factor at all. And I'm not saying that that's not a factor at all, but in this study, that's what he found. And so what he found was that was common was the people that seemed to do really well, if they were posed with a question, they would answer it instead of being like, oh yeah, no, that just makes me mad. They would go, yeah, I don't know, that makes me feel really sad. Well, no, not sad, but I don't know, it just like that feels upsetting to me. And so there was just a cadence in their voice, the way they were kind of exploring inside themselves to get to the feeling that they were trying to express. And that's exactly what focusing is. It's about becoming present in the body, focusing in on the body, and feeling and listening for what they call in focusing the felt sense. But the felt sense is exactly what it sounds like. If you sit with your body and it's like if you go into your throat and you're like, do I have a sore throat? You're kind of feeling in there, like, is there a sense of soreness in there, right? This is what it is. It's about just being present in the body and seeing what we can learn. So I'm going to give you some tips, and then I'm just going to kind of walk you through the way it works. And so these are tips that I just want to plant these seeds before we begin. So the single most important thing, and even if you don't remember anything else, if you remember this, it'll help you try it out, is that you are, and this is what I brought up earlier, it's about like, we tend to we have these wonderful bodies that are like miracle machines, right? Like we wouldn't be without our bodies. And they do all this work for us all the time without us having to be involved, right? Thousands of viral things hit them every day, and they just jump to and take care of it without us even having to know about it, right? So why are we like, oh God, my knee hurts, I wish that would just go away, right? I'm so stiff here, I just wish that would go away, right? What if we were to be like, oh, I'm stiff here, hey body, what's going on, right? So there's all this research that we store our emotions in our body, we store our traumas in our body, all these things live in us. And what if we could go in there and communicate and find out what's going on and help, right? So treat your body like a friend. Imagine that you are going to go visit somebody who you really care about. Maybe at this point you don't know them that well, but you see this sweet person who's clearly going through something and could use some support. And you want to go and would you go and say, just tell me what's going on so I can fix it? No. You would go and you would sit with them and say, hi, I'm here for you. I'm here. Just let me know what's going on. And then you would wait quietly while you hold space for them, right? You hold space in a loving, compassionate way for somebody, and because you want to help them, you want to try to understand. So I want you to think about treating your body that way. I know it's crazy, but we can do it, and our bodies deserve it. So treat your body like a friend. Another thing just to bear in mind, this is not meditation. You want to get comfortable, you want to be warm, but this is not, you don't want to go into a meditative state, you don't want to fall asleep, you actually want to stay alert and focused, just like you would if you were listening to a friend trying to describe to you what difficult thing is going on in their life, right? And again, same thing, you want to be a good listener and reflect back what you hear. You want to, this is important, and this applies very specifically to often what comes up with anxiety and feelings of overwhelm. a lot of times, you know, there are going to be emotions. There might be sensations in the body that are going to come up. There are going to be emotions that come up. There might be a visual that comes up. There might be a memory that comes up. Remember, you want to sit with it. You don't have to dive headfirst into it. You're the friend sitting next to the body that's trying to share something with you. So, you know, if we have a lot of anxiety, there's, again, often a lot of emotion attached to that. So you might go in and feel like a tightness in your throat and suddenly you want to cry, right? It's very common. And, you know, or any other myriad sorts of emotions can come up. Just try not to be overwhelmed by it. Try to just keep reminding yourself that you can be with it. You don't have to be consumed by it. You can be with it. And it's just like if a friend shares something with you, or if you get to share something with a friend, often you feel better, right? It's like just by being able to share it, you're like, oh, I feel a lot better, you know, because somebody has borne witness to my struggles. And so sit with your body, approach it with open, respectful curiosity and compassion. Let the revelations come, don't push or force. There's no right or wrong sense. You're going in just feeling for a certain sense, sensing for a certain feeling. There's no right or wrong. I'll show you what you do when they come up so that you can kind of zero in on what the body wants to tell you. And again, allow it to share as you just pay attention and try to understand. Okay? So the stages of focusing. These are the basic stages of focusing. I'm going to put them up on the screen, but I'm going to actually just sort of walk you through it. And working on this, I realized that it's not so easy to do it with a group, because I can't really guide every person individually. You're all going to have your own experiences and your own things that are going to come up. But that's totally okay. I encourage everybody to just get really comfortable. Whatever position is comfortable for you. If you're sitting, you know, just have your feet on the floor. Make sure your back feels supported and that you feel just at ease in your body as much as possible. And then I want you to just close your eyes, and I'm going to go in and guide you, but also be giving you examples so that you can just sort of get what the whole process is. And, you know, you might be having your own experience that's different than the examples that I'm giving, and that's totally fine. You can ignore me and just stay with your own body, or you can listen to me and then later on try it yourself. So the way we begin, we want to just come into our body. So again, if everybody just wants to close their eyes, and we just start with the open thought, you know, which way today? Which way today? What wants my attention today? And I'm just going to have you, this is just like what Dr. Deb did yesterday, but it's a way of sort of grounding ourselves in our body. A great way to start is just take a couple easy breaths. And then just notice all the points of contact. Notice the way your feet are connecting with the floor. How your hands, maybe your hands are resting on your thighs or wherever they're resting. Just feel the way they're connecting to whatever they're resting on. You can feel the way your butt or glutes and the back of your thighs are connecting with the seat. And how your back is being held by the chair or whatever you're sitting on. And then just sort of move your head just a little bit, just to get a sense of the weight, the volume of your head on your neck. And just wiggle it around a little bit, and then just sort of let it come to center so it feels like it's resting easy, being held up by that super powerful neck of ours. You can even like roll your shoulders a little bit and just encourage them to relax and just drop into a natural position. And just feel centered in your body. And you can say, again, which way today? And I'm sensing into my body. Just a couple other things, if you have trouble sort of feeling kind of right in your body, that you can do. One thing I like to do is just sort of cast my attention out to my skin. It's sort of like, it gives you just this overall sense of the space that your body takes up in the world. And feel the weight of your body sort of pressing down on whatever you're sitting on. Now, in your own little focusing session, if you have something that's just really calling your attention, like maybe you have a pain in your knee or a weird feeling in your elbow or a stomach ache, whatever, you can go right to where that sensation is. But if you're not sure if that's even, sometimes we can have an injury and it still is not really where our body needs us to be paying attention at that moment. Or if we don't have any sense of where to go, we go to the sort of central corridor, which is the neck, your throat area, and your chest area, and then your stomach and abdomen area. And just start with your throat. Again, this is just sort of a guided example so that you know what to do. When you go to your throat, again, just check it out. Check in with it, just like you would if you were like, do I have a sore throat? And just put your attention on your throat and see and just be with it. If you feel any kind of sensation at all, you can just try to zero in your mind on what it is. And ask the question, what wants my attention now? So I'm in my throat, and right now I'm feeling this sense of just a little sense of tightness. So I'm going to say hello to that and just say, hello tightness, hello throat, you're feeling tight? And then ask it, like, tight? So it's like you're checking in with your body. Is that what I'm sensing? And then you wait. And you see if there's some other sense, or see if the tightness might get stronger or it might get weaker. And again, you just sit with it, whatever it is, whatever felt sense comes up, whether it's an emotion, a physical sense, you just say hello to it. You try to find a way to best describe it, and then you check back in with your body to see if you've got it right. And the more you do this, it's just like deep intuition. You learn to trust what you're feeling. You learn to trust that you have this relationship that can have clear communication. And you'll get the feedback that will either let you know you're on the right path or you're not. If our body senses had a mouth and could speak to us, that would be awesome. But since we don't, it's a subtler conversation that we're having. So, sorry, I just had to check the time. So again, especially when there's a lot of anxiety, if you start feeling like some strong emotion come up, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to say hello to it. You're going to try to name it or describe it, and you're going to check back into the body, like sadness. Is it sadness? And then you might get even a more choking sensation, and that would confirm it. And then you just wait and you listen. And here you are, you're this friend developing a deeper relationship with your body, and you're listening and caring and holding space and being respectful. And when you're done with your throat, you can move to your chest, and then you can move to your belly. And then you might find after doing all that the first time that there's one place that really seems like there's a lot going on. And then you go and you stay with that. So if you guys want, I would just encourage you to either stay with the throat if it feels like there's a lot there, or move to the chest. Is there like tightness or heaviness or any kind of pain or physical sensation? But you don't need to push it. If you're just present with it, whatever needs to be shown will come to you. So this, just in the name of time, has to be a very abbreviated session. But when you are ready to shift out of it, you want to just say, you want to just ask it just like you would a friend, are you okay with me leaving right now? I do have to leave. And then let it know that you'll be back. Because again, this is about focusing in and building, opening up the pathways of communication between your thinking mind and your body's own deep wisdom. Okay? So I'm going to show you one more slide here. These are sort of advanced. The focusing stages are just the basic ones, but the more you sit, the more complicated things might come up. You might want to ask questions to really sort of feel in. Again, you're just feeling your way deeper and deeper and deeper. We're all like very, very, very big onions with layers upon layers upon layers of memories and history and traumas and all sorts of things that we're holding in there. So just be patient, be kind, be openly curious, and stay with it. Because as I said, the more you do this, it's always nice if you if you decide to take this a step further after today, if you allow yourself, just let everybody who you live with know that you need a half an hour to yourself, close the door, turn off your phone, and just give yourself a half an hour to explore this. And the more that you do it, though, the easier it is to just have this. You end up just like with a friend having sort of an ongoing conversation. So if you are working on something and you're like, wow, there's really something there that I want to follow up on, but I got to go to work, you can just go back to it the next time you have time. And you'll learn that you open up these lines of communication and you have access much more readily, and it becomes a very easy thing to do in the flow of your day. So that is focusing, a brief introduction. So if you guys have, I want to just open it to a little conversation and any reactions or questions people might have. But I also want to just let you know if anybody's interested in learning more or exploring this kind of work more, or any of the coaching that I do. I think Lisa will probably put my contact in you can email me directly, or you can email me through my website. Yep. Something that brings you into a place of joy and allows you to shift away from anxiety and whatever's, allows you to melt that giant hook that's got you, right?
Yes.
So
holding our pet, riding a bike, gratitude. That's beautiful. Gratitude for life itself and all the wonders of our beautiful home. Another pet person, pet your animal.
Nice.
Yes. Trampoline, I wonder who that was. To recenter in your body. And then again with the pets, my dog and Kitty have passed away. I'm so sorry, Steve. That's heartbreaking. But you still find joy by having them on your screen. Sink into nature, which is something you touched on too, Judy, so much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, so very similar to the practice of Steve. You mentioned this yesterday. I don't even know how to pronounce that.
Proprioceptive writing.
I couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
So all of these are suggestions and observations.
And Steve also asked if you can get the pages from the presentation that you just
Yes, and I apologize that I didn't get them up on the website ahead of time, but I'll try to get them up there this afternoon so that you can, as PDF, so you can just print them up.
Thank you, Judy.
Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody, I know we don't have very much time because we need a little bit of a break before Jeannie, but if anybody has any other comments or questions about anything, just let me know, or any reactions.
Could I have, oh, go ahead, please, Steve.
Okay. So when I mentioned proprioceptive writing, it was a practice I learned as I was kind of learning how to be a writer. But come to find out that the methodology behind it was developed by a professor in Columbia many years ago, and it's kind of become a meditative practice as well. And the major theme that opens right up if you read her stuff is how to look at yourself as your best. No, be present in the company of your best friend, and then that best friend, since it's your best friend, is making you get clearer and clearer with whatever you're trying to get at, which is a great practice to be a writer or anything else. It makes you deep. And I just really appreciated your, that aspect of this, because I kind of used to have that best friend. She still is, but we don't see each other. But we used to do this. It was like a real dedicated time, a real kindness, a real, equality to it. And I think I could, through your input, I think I could recapture that in a little different way with myself. So I'm very appreciative.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I have a question, Judy.
Yes.
You mentioned that your son was calmed by going into a warm shower.
Mm-hmm.
What made you think of that? I'm just wondering because it's such a
well, he
an
used to
effective
always
tool.
love showers. Yeah, I know, and I love water too. Water is one of the things that's very powerful for me, is just getting in water, getting in warm water. And I probably, because he used to take, hour-long showers if I would let him. So yeah, it was a long time ago, but it was, if I could get him in, sometimes he was resistant because he was so, again, we get so hooked. We get hooked on the drama that's going on in our heads. So it's hard to even want to step away from it sometimes. But if we do, it pays off. Yeah.
Loved this exercise because it brought me so clear to how I resist it. That even when I schedule time to spend with myself and be in my body, I've got a perfect example. This morning I got in the sauna, and I always pick out a fabulous podcast that I can't wait to listen to. And I spend the whole time listening to the podcast, and I tell myself that I'm doing this great thing for my body. And it made me so clear that I am listening to a podcast to stay in my mind so that I don't have to get into my body. Yeah. So this exercise was like, okay, you could do this because you could just sit with your friend in the sauna and be, that way. So I think I'm going to try that. Thank you.
I like that. You're welcome. Thank you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So Jeannie, please.
Yeah, the focusing was amazing. Loved it. But even before that, the breathing and with the F sound, all a huge difference in my breathing. All of a sudden, I was like able to get a full breath in because a full breath had gone out.
Oh, yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah, that actually was the idea with my voice teacher, because that was, you want to be able to get all that air out so you can sing for a really long time. Hold notes.
Oh.
Yeah, good. That's cool. Yeah.
Does it mean anything that if I get a little dizzy doing that? Not a lot, but just like a little floppy.
I don't think it means anything. It might be that you're, sort of almost forcing it a little bit.
Okay.
And so you can just be like, oh, okay. You don't have to. That's why I said taking a deep breath is a little bit of an overstatement. It's really, you want to take an easy, full breath, whatever that is for you. Yeah.
I see. Thanks. Are there any other questions other than the slides? You said you're going to provide that link?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could do that before we sign off, I'll let everybody just remind everyone to save the chat, and then they'll have that access to that too.
I think Ashley said she has a question.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Oops, shoot.
And Beth.
She's muted.
Oops, you're muted. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
The exercise reminds me a little bit about an experience that I had doing craniosacral, and how when we get to those blocked and stored memories and things that when we're in our bodies, it releases those. So I'm assuming when you do this one-on-one, are you exploring those blocks together then as they come up, or how does that lead into what you do next?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the focusing is, even though I teach people and I do some guiding with it, is, the goal is for them to then just be able to do it on their own. So it's not always, it's not really set up to be a guided thing. It's something to learn and then to do on your own. And it does work on blocks, and it works on all kinds of things, because if you can just sit with it and allow it to come up, it's amazing. Like, you'll feel the difference. Like, you'll have something just start to dissipate. You'll have, tensions ease. You'll have emotions maybe get worse and then calm down. And so, then of course, if something deeper comes up and you get like a message or something where you're like, oh, this is something I really need to do some deep work on, you can bring that to me, but you also might want to take it to a therapist. You know what I mean? It's just depending on what it is. There's a lot of approaches. So, yeah.
The comment was made, Judy, that this is from Beth. It was a most soothing and productive session, and good to remember to tune in when things feel out of control. Thank you, Beth.
Great. Thank you.
And someone else raised their hand. Was it Gail? Is it Gail? You're raising your hand?
Yeah,
You have the beautiful sun behind you. It's so pretty.
I just was having a thought when you were doing this about being in your body, and it's that I've noticed with little children, when they're like 2 or something, 3,
Mm-hmm.
Or earlier anyway, when something is wrong in their body, it becomes a huge thing. It's hard to get the mental in there, or an observer in there to deal with it. So we have to calm them and comfort them and everything. So it seems like one of the major things in this is approaching, if you're going to use the body, allow the body to speak, and you have to be like a parent at that point, like not just a pal, but somebody who's really going to take care, because the level of experience is going to shift to an earlier time frame, really, where we couldn't control. Well, we can't
Right.
control in our bodies, but anyway, I just had that thought.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
The suggestion was made, and this is a good idea, in case anybody drops off, all of the recordings from this session, from the whole event, including yesterday's, they're going to be made available to everyone who attends. So if you happen to miss something, don't worry, you're going to get a link to each of the presentations.
Judy, that was awesome.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Judy.
you.